There are instances where you have a polyline that has many vertices and you want to reduce them. To reduce the vertices, use the DeleteFeatuePI command. Once the DeleteFeatuePI command is activated, notice the change in color on the vertices with the current vertex highlighted as a green triangle. Clicking anywhere on the drawing removes the current vertex. Continue clicking until you have removed the vertices of interest. To move to a different area, press Escape to exit out of the command, then select a vertex in the area of interest and use the DeleteFeatuePI command as highlighted earlier. In Civil 3D, 2D polylines are coplanar with only X and Y coordinates, while 3D polylines can have different Z values at each vertex and exist in 3D space. It is necessary to convert 3D polylines to 2D polylines to be able to join, cut, or extend these lines. To convert a 3D polyline to a 2D polyline, you can either use the command line or navigate through the tabs options. To use command line, simply type Convert 3D to 2D Polylines command to convert 3D to 2D polylines. You will be prompted to select the polylines to convert, then press Enter. The new polyline will take on the elevation of the start point of the 3D polyline. To convert a 3D polyline to a 2D polyline, one can also click on the Modify tab, expand the design options, select Convert 3D to 2D polyline. You will be prompted to select the polylines to convert, then press Enter. Alternatively, you can explode the 3D polyline into separate lines, select all the new line segments and open the Properties palette. Set the Z value to 0 for all the selected lines, and then join them back into a single 2D polyline using the Pivot command. Civil 3D has similar find and replace options to what you can find in the Microsoft Office suite of applications. The Find and Replace dialog allows you to search your drawing for any text string and replace it with another. One can either use the command line or tabs to initiate Find and Replace. Type Find to bring up the Find and Replace option. If necessary, expand the dialog box to set the search and text type options. The Find and Replace window has an option to select the area where you want to find the text objects from under the Find Where drop-down options. You can enter wildcard characters to define the text string. Type the text that you want to find and press Enter. Click Find/Find next to zoom in to each instance. Click Replace for any instances for which you want to update the text. Click Replace All to update all instances matching the search criteria. Find and Replace can also be located under the text panel in the Annotate tab in Civil 3D. In Civil 3D, when you are using dashed line types, you are bound to have an issue where the line type is not uniform around curves or bends. Before you draw the polyline, set PLINEGEN to 1. PLINEGEN controls how line type patterns generate around the vertices of a 2D polyline when it is drawn. Setting PLINEGEN to 1 generates line types in an uninterrupted pattern through the vertices of the polyline. When PLINEGEN is set to 0, line types are generated that start and end with a dash at each vertex of the polyline. If the polyline is already drawn, use the Pivot command, select the polyline, select L-type, and choose On. L-type generates the line type in a continuous pattern through the vertices of the polyline. When turned off, this option generates the line type starting and ending with a dash at each vertex. Note that L-type gen does not apply to polylines with tapered segments. If you have several polylines, use the Pivot command, select multiple, select the polylines, select L-type, and choose On. Alternatively, for multiple polylines, one can use MP-Edit command, select the polylines, choose Yes to convert lines and arcs to polylines, select L-type and choose On. This approach results in even line types. Sometimes when working with very large drawings, the program can either crash or freeze, forcing one to use the task manager to close and restart the application. After restarting, you no longer get the file navigation dialog boxes, and instead you get a command line option, which can be relatively harder to navigate. Any attempt at saving or opening a drawing brings the command line option. This is because FILEDIA changed from 1 to 0. To change from command line to the file navigation dialog boxes, use the FILEDIA command and set it to 1. When FILEDIA is set to 0 in Civil 3D, dialog boxes are not displayed. You can still request a file dialog box to appear by entering a tilde in response to the command prompt. With FILEDIA set to 1, dialog boxes are displayed. However, if a script is active, an ordinary prompt is displayed. Prompts are also displayed if an AutoLisp or ObjectArcs program is active. Sometimes you want to edit text, but when you double-click on the text, nothing happens and you can't edit. Type PICKFIRST, input 1, and press Enter. Setting the PICKFIRST system variable to 0 turns off PICKFIRST, enabling you to select objects after you issue a command, while setting it to 1 enables you to select objects before you issue a command. Breaklines can be used to show discontinuities in structures, from the literal definition of the term to break. Use of breaklines can be necessary where you want to properly fit a structure to a specific paper size, and you can omit showing some segments of the structure without losing valuable information. You can insert a breakline symbol in a drawing by using the command line. The size of the breakline itself might not be the size that you need for your particular use case. To define a suitable breakline size, use the breakline command, then choose size, enter a value, then press Enter. Choose the first and second points where you want the breakline to be placed between, and press Enter. The breakline options can also be initiated by going to the Express Tools tab, choose breakline symbol under the Draw section, and follow the same process outlined earlier. This will give you a breakline with a suitable symbol size. We can use the Offset command in Civil 3D to create a parallel or concentric copy of an existing object at a specified distance. The Offset command is one of the most commonly used drawing tools for creating walls, boundaries, or other parallel geometry quickly. The Offset command can be accessed from the Modify panel on the Home tab, or by typing Offset and pressing Enter. To use it, specify an offset distance, select the object to offset, and then click on either side of the original object to choose the side for the new object. If you want the item to be on the right, you click on the right, and if you want it on the left, click on the left of the original object. To create several objects, select the object, then click on the side where we want the new object to be placed for each object we want to place. This can take time, especially if you want to create several objects. For instance, if you need 100 objects, you will have to select the object to be offset 100 times, then click on the side you want to place the objects. To reduce on the number of clicks required, we can use the multiple offset option. Type offset and press Enter to bring up the offset command. Specify the offset distance, choose the object, hit the down arrow, and select multiple. Choose the side to offset and click away. This is a quick way of creating copies of an existing object in your drawing at predefined intervals. After you offset objects, you can trim and extend them to suit your drawing requirements. There are situations we might want to extract editable objects from a Civil 3D surface, for instance, the surface boundary or contours, without exploding the surface. To extract objects from an existing Civil 3D surface, you can either use the ACEX Surface Extract Objects command or select the surface. Then on the Surface tab, Surface Tools panel, click Extract Objects. If more than one surface is available in the drawing, in the Select a Surface dialog box, select the surface from which to extract components. In the Extract Objects from Surface dialog box, under Property, deselect the components that you do not want to extract. Note that all visible surface components are selected by default. Under Value, choose either Select All to select all the surface components for extraction, or select from Drawing, click, and manually select the required surface components, then click OK. Every selected surface component is extracted from the surface object without affecting the surface. Extracted objects can be exported as individual items. When you insert an image in a drawing, you may get a border around the image. Use the Imageframe command to control visibility of the border around inserted images. You can hide the border by entering 0 at the command prompt, display and plot it by entering 1, or display it without plotting by entering 2. This setting allows you to customize how images appear in the drawing and whether their frames are included in the final output.